Hello, good evening, and welcome to Unacademy, a one-stop destination for the English medium civil services aspirants. Prelims 2024 is over. Either you are preparing for Mains 2024 or you are preparing for CSE 2025. If you are preparing for CSE 2025, you need a starting point. How do I approach the civil services examination? And at a specific level, how do I approach the individual subjects that are part of your CSE syllabus? Keeping that in mind, we have launched a series where we discuss the strategy for individual subjects. We started off with the strategy for international relations. A video on that was released by Chetan sir. Then we discussed the strategy that you need to follow for Indian economy. A video of that was released by Sham sir. And today we are doing something different. In a Q&A format, live question and answer format, we will discuss the complete strategy that you need to follow to master Indian polity for both prelims and mains, keeping CSE 2025 in mind. What all are we going to cover in this session? I'll tell you what is the significance of Indian polity for prelims and mains. What exactly do you need to study in Indian polity? What are the book lists? What is the source that you need to follow to master Indian polity for civil services examination? And then we will analyze the syllabus of Indian polity. We will take a look at what is the trend, what sort of questions have been asked in the civil services examination, both for prelims as well as from the mains perspective. And if you're liking this initiative, do press the like button and subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. And towards the end, I will take as many questions as possible. Please park your thoughts, park your questions. Don't ask me questions right now because I will have to say whatever I have planned to say today to discuss and share with you. And towards the end, whatever doubts, whatever concerns, whatever queries you have, please let me know. I'll try to my level best to answer all your queries as much as possible to the best of my ability. And at the same time, if you are preparing for CSE 2025 and you're looking for coaching, online guidance to prepare for civil services exam, because there are aspirants who are doing self-study and there are aspirants who need external help, who need guidance, who need coaching, maybe live online classroom program to prepare and complete the syllabus of the civil services examination. And if you are one such student who is looking for guidance and coaching, you can and you should consider Unacademy, because right now at this point the fee is the most affordable at 24,999. And if you wish to enroll in these programs, then please give us a call on this number. There are 3 batches that we are launching from the 25th of June. One is in the bilingual medium English batch, the other is the Hindi batch, and the third one is our English batch, online classroom program for English medium civil services aspirants. The name of the batch is Achievers Batch. This program starts 25th of June. We will start with Indian polity, the subject that I will be taking. Should you wish to enroll in these programs, please do let us know. Now let's get started and understand what is the strategy that you need to follow for Indian polity when it comes to prelims and mains examination. Now listen to me carefully. Indian polity is one of the most important subjects for the civil services examination. Why? Because I teach this subject. But humor aside, how do you judge the significance of a subject, the importance of a subject? By looking at the sheer amount of marks that are allocated to the subject in prelims and mains. If you look at the history over the past few years, starting with 2013. Why 2013? Because this is when the pattern changed. Consistently from 2013 till this year, 2024, sometimes 15 questions, sometimes 22 questions, sometimes 16 questions have been asked in prelims. Considering a time where the cutoff is 75 or 80 or 90, if from a single subject you are getting 15 marks, multiply it by 2, so 30 marks specifically for one subject imagine the significance of the subject. So Indian polity is one of the most important subjects for the civil services examination when it comes to prelims because of the sheer amount of marks that are allocated to the subject. Sometimes 30, on an average 30, sometimes 44 as well. When it comes to the mains examination, in mains examination, GS paper 2 talks about polity, governance, social justice, international relations. If we exclude governance, if we exclude international relations, if we exclude social justice and strictly focus on Indian polity, because that's the subject that we are discussing right now, sometimes 75, sometimes 120, sometimes 150 marks worth of questions have been asked in mains examination from Indian polity. And you would know each GS paper is of 250 marks. Out of 250 marks, if 150 marks have been allocated or assigned to Indian polity, imagine the significance of this subject. So when I say Indian polity is one of the most important subjects for the civil services exam, because it is relevant for prelims, it is relevant for mains as well, but at the same time, it is relevant for your essay as well. Maybe in some of the essay topics, you need to quote Constitution, various Supreme Court judgments, various laws enacted by the Parliament. So your knowledge of Indian polity is definitely and surely going to help you in your essay writing. That means Indian polity relevant for prelims, relevant for GS paper 2, relevant for essay, relevant for your optional subjects as well. If your optional subject is public administration, for example, if your optional subject is political science and international relations, if your optional subject is sociology as well, even there you will see the relevance of Indian polity. And at the same time, this subject is immensely useful at the time of the personality test, because you may be asked about your opinion on Uniform Civil Code, on one nation, one election, on the challenges being faced by the Election Commission of India in ensuring free and fair elections. And such questions have been asked to our students in the recent interview which was conducted by the Union Public Service Commission, the personality test which was conducted in February, March. So Indian polity, long story short, is one of the most important subjects for the civil services examination purely because of the amount of marks that are allocated to the subject. And it has relevance in all the three stages of your personality, in all the three stages of your examination. Prelims, GS paper 2, your optional subject, essay paper, as well as the personality test. So if now we have understood one aspect, which is what is the significance of the subject, now let's look at the second aspect. What exactly do we need to cover in Indian polity? What exactly do you need to focus on? There are three key areas where you have to be focused upon, which is something that you will have to master when it comes to Indian polity. First is, you have to have the understanding of Constitution of India, Preamble, Union and its territory, citizenship, fundamental rights, directive principles of state policy, legislature, executive, judiciary, elections, local governments, Panchayati Raj institutions, municipalities. Long story short, everything that is there in the Constitution becomes relevant for your Indian polity, for the civil services examination, because the first area that you will have to focus on when it comes to Indian polity is the Constitution of India. But again, please keep this in mind. Does that mean you will have to cover entire Indian Constitution? Perhaps yes. But does that mean you will have to cover Indian polity, the Constitution of India, in the same depth as should be covered by a law graduate? As should be covered by the advocate of the High Court or the Supreme Court? No. Cover Constitution, basis its relevance for the civil services examination. Nothing more, nothing less. But sir, how do we judge it? How do we understand it? What is the level of depth that we need to go into in preparing the subject, Constitution of India, for the IAS exams? That is where you have to keep in mind two very important documents released by the UPSC. Which are these two important documents? First, my dear, is the syllabus. Second, previous year's question papers. Syllabus will tell you what to study. And previous year's question papers will tell you how to study. Not just how to study, what to anticipate. What sort of questions can be asked this year? What sort of questions can be asked in the prelims and mains? That's something that you can anticipate by looking at previous year's question papers. And I'll tell you slightly later how. But here, first thing that you will have to focus on is the Constitution of India, as is relevant for the civil services examination. Second theme that you will have to focus on, the laws passed by the legislature. For example, Aadhaar was a law passed by the Parliament. Citizenship Amendment Act, child labor law. These are just examples. So first thing that you will have to focus on when it comes to Indian polity is the Constitution of India. Second, you will have to focus on the laws passed by the legislature. Third, you will have to focus on are the judicial verdicts. What are these judicial verdicts? Keshavananda Bharati judgment. What are these judicial verdicts? Right to privacy judgment. K.S. Puttaswamy judgment. What are these judgments? I.R. Kolo versus State of Tamil Nadu. What are these judgments? Supriyo versus Union of India. All these important judgments, landmark judgments, either so landmark that we always discuss and study these judgments, or those which were delivered recently in the last 1.5 years. That is what we call current affairs. So if Indian polity is one of the most important subjects for your civil services examination, because it's relevant for prelims, mains, personality test, essay, as well as some of the optional subjects, and look at the sheer amount of marks that are allocated to the subject. That covers area number one. Second, what exactly do we need to study in Indian polity? First, the Constitution, as is relevant for the civil services examination. Second, various laws enacted by the legislature. Sometimes not just laws passed by the legislature, but also those laws which are under consideration of the legislature. Some laws may not have been passed by the parliament, by the legislature, but they are under consideration of the legislature. Even those laws can become important, and I will give you reasons why. And I will tell you, explain, give proof when and where are these bills important. Because those pieces of legislation which have not been enacted, these are bills. And third are the judicial verdicts. These are the three areas that you need to focus on. But now, sir, if Indian polity is such an important subject, if these are the three areas, three themes that we have to focus on, Constitution, laws, and the judicial verdicts, then what should be the sources to follow? What exactly do we need to study? What are these books that we can follow to ace and master Indian polity for the civil services exam? This is where there is a difference. What is the difference? Listen to me carefully. If you have joined coaching, not necessarily an academy, any other academy, C Academy, B Academy, G Academy, any other academy, and if you have already enrolled in a course, then you should first attend those classes and then revise from the books. Clear? But if you are preparing on your own, because if you have joined coaching and then you are studying these books on your own, why did you join coaching in the first place? The whole point of joining a coaching class is to ensure that your time management is taken care of, is to ensure that your effort is minimized, is to ensure that you can cover these subjects in a shortest possible time frame. Please do not read books on your own if you have joined coaching. You should first attend the classes and then read books, because that would make book reading easier because you have understood by attending the lectures. But if you are preparing on your own, if you're doing self-study, then first thing that you need to understand is your foundation has to be strong. Your basics have to be clear. You may be an engineering graduate or a medical science student or a BCom graduate. You have never read or understood, or you never had developed any interest, any affection towards polity, politics, civics, political science. Then in that case, you have to ensure that your basics are strong, your foundation is strong. And that you will get and attain by reading these two NCERTs. First is Political Theory, which is a textbook for class 11th. The second is Indian Constitution at Work, which again is a textbook in political science for class 11. All you need to do, go to the website of NCERT, download these two textbooks, maybe take the printout as well and read them. And once you read them, then over a period of time, it may take you 15 days to complete both these books, 15 days thoroughly to complete both these books, and then you can be well accustomed to some of the basics, foundation of Indian polity. And after that, once you are done with these NCERTs, then you can take a reference book. And that reference book is M. Lakshmikant. I did not paste the picture of this book because then you might be wondering, sir, we have the 7th edition. Should I go ahead with the new edition once it is published? Or I have the 6th edition of this book, 5th edition of this book. If you have 5th, 6th, 7th, any edition of this book, read it. But please understand and listen to me carefully. Lakshmikant is a book that is relevant only for prelims. Lakshmikant is not going to help you in your mains preparation. I repeat, Lakshmikant is never going to help you in your mains preparation. Lakshmikant is good only for the prelims examination. Sir, how can you say this? For me to explain this, first I need to explain what is the fundamental difference between prelims and the mains examination. And if I ask this question, don't answer by saying that prelims is about MCQs. A question will be given and there are 4 options. We have to pick the right answer, the most appropriate answer, that is prelims. And in mains, sir, we will have to write descriptive answers in 100 words, in 150 words, in 250 words, depending upon the requirement of the question. That's not the fundamental difference that I'm talking about. The fundamental difference between prelims and mains is, prelims is about 2 things. UPSC is going to judge you, test you in prelims, whether you know the facts, whether you know the concepts. So questions will be such that will test your factual knowledge. Questions will be such that will test your conceptual clarity when it comes to the prelims examination. And mains is also about 2 things. In mains, you will need to elaborate. In mains, you will need to analyze. Elaborate the concepts that will be asked in the examination, that are part of the constitution or the laws or the judicial verdicts, because those are the three themes that you have to focus on. Analyze a recent Supreme Court judgment. Analyze or critically analyze a law passed by the Parliament, or analyze a provision of the Indian Constitution. That is going to be the focus of UPSC when it comes to the mains examination. And if you look at Lakshmikant, it is a collection of facts, 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 and more facts. It does not explain many concepts. That is why it's going to be relevant only for the prelims exam, and that too if the prelims exam focuses on your factual knowledge, tests your factual understanding, not the conceptual clarity. And in mains examination, you will be asked to analyze, elaborate. And that is why we say for the civil services examination, you need to understand, you need to focus on current affairs. And when we say current affairs, which means newspapers, which means PRS Legislative Research, which is a website which publishes the analysis, the provisions of various laws that are passed by the Parliament or various bills that are pending in the Parliament. Also, some of the portals, such as the wire.in. But sir, the wire.in is an anti-national portal. I don't know whether it is anti-national or not. All I know is sometimes the statements have been directly picked from the wire.in. Statements have been picked directly from the scroll.in. Statements have been picked directly from the print, which is run by Mr. Shekhar Gupta, by the UPSC by the UPSC question setters and asked in the mains examination. That is why, long story short, if we know that Indian polity is an important subject for the civil services exam, that's covered. Second, what exactly do we need to study in Indian polity? That's covered. What are the sources that we need to follow? If you have not joined a coaching class, because if you have joined a coaching class, for example, if you have joined my class, I will assume that you are complete beginners. All of you are innocent engineers and you have no idea about Indian polity. So I'll start from scratch. I will start building your concepts and I will move ahead and reach the UPSC level. So I will assume that you know nothing about this subject. But if you're preparing on your own, then you need to start with 2 NCERT books, which I discussed, then Lakshmikant. But Lakshmikant is going to help only in prelims, and that too if UPSC is asking you factual questions, and those facts are covered in Lakshmikant. Conceptual clarity that you will gain through NCERTs or by reading some higher level books, which unfortunately I can't prescribe. Why? Because then the return on investment is very poor. I can prescribe tens of books on Indian polity, which will make you the master of the subject. But you don't have to be the master of every subject, expert of every subject. You have to be the jack of all trades when it comes to UPSC, right? For that, Lakshmikant, 2 NCERT books, and then link it with current affairs. By reading newspapers, by following PRS Legislative Research, some portals such as the Scroll, such as the Print, such as the Wire.in. How? Let me explain. When I say prelims and mains, the fundamental difference between the two is what? Prelims is about facts and concepts. Mains is about elaboration and analysis. Let's look at one topic in Indian polity. In Indian polity, we have to discuss constitution. In constitution, we have to discuss the parliament. In parliament, we have to discuss the joint sitting of the 2 houses of Indian parliament, the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Because if you read, and when you read or if you read Indian Polity, you will come across a term called deadlock. If a bill has been passed by one house and not agreed upon by the other house, there is a deadlock. And to resolve that deadlock, the President may, on the advice of the Council of Ministers, notify a joint sitting of the two houses. Look at this question. When a bill is referred to a joint sitting of both the houses of the Parliament, it has to be passed by a simple majority of members present and voting, 3/4, 2/3, absolute. The answer is absolutely simple, and that is A, by the simple majority of the members present and voting. What is it? It's a fact. It's a factual question, which you will find in Lakshmikant. And that's the answer. But same topic can be asked in the mains exam as well, because mains is about elaboration. Mains is about analysis. And on the very topic of joint sitting, a question was asked. The Indian Constitution has provisions for holding joint sessions of the two houses of the Parliament. Enumerate the occasions when this would normally happen and also the occasions when it cannot, with the reasons thereof. And you have to answer this question in 250 words, because if it's a 15 marker, you have to answer it in 250 words. So in mains examination, what is the focus? The focus is on elaboration. Let's look at something else. In Prelims 2023, this question was asked. Consider the following statements. Attorney General, I think this question was not asked in 2023, I think it was asked before that. But be that as it may, consider the following statements regarding the Attorney General for India. Attorney General for India can take part in the proceedings of the Lok Sabha, be a member of the committee of the Lok Sabha, speak in the Lok Sabha, vote in the Lok Sabha? No. Why? Because he is not the member of the Lok Sabha. So what is the correct answer? C. 1, 2, 3. This is a factual question. Sometimes an element of concept is also added. Can this person vote? Your concept has to be clear that since he is not the member or she is not the member, she can't vote. But same topic, Attorney General, can be asked in mains examination in the form of an elaboration. The Attorney General is the chief legal advisor and the lawyer of the Government of India. Discuss. 15 marks, 150 words, 250 words. Prelims is about facts and concepts. Mains is about elaboration, analysis of those facts and concepts that you have studied for the prelims examination. That's the difference between the two. And that is why I always urge my students to focus on two things: syllabus of this examination and the previous year's question papers. Because the syllabus will tell you what to study. Previous year's question papers will tell you how to study, how to approach these topics, what sort of questions have been asked from this area in the civil services examination. Not just that. What are the different types of questions that can be asked? Whether it is prelims or whether it is the mains examination. Either the question, as I said, can be a factual question, can be a conceptual question, and within factual and conceptual, you may club them into current affairs as well. Sir, what are you saying? There can be a question related to a current affairs development but fact-based. There can be a question related to current affairs but conceptual. These are the types of questions that have been asked. For example, with reference to the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, this is the question which was asked in Prelims 2024. And this, when I told you, how do you anticipate the questions? And by looking at previous year's question papers alone, you can anticipate questions. What do we mean by anticipating questions? The 17th Lok Sabha was dissolved. Right? Now we have the 18th Lok Sabha. So if the 17th Lok Sabha was dissolved, which is a current affairs topic, a current affairs development, because something is about to happen, the 17th Lok Sabha will have to be dissolved. UPSC asked a question on the dissolution of Lok Sabha and what will happen And what will happen to those bills which are pending in the Lok Sabha or which are pending in the Rajya Sabha when the Lok Sabha has been dissolved? It's a static part of your syllabus, but you have to link it with the current affairs. Why? Because a recent development, that has to be your focus. That has to be, you should have an added focus on that. So with reference to Indian Parliament, consider the following statements. A bill pending in the Lok Sabha lapses on its dissolution, correct. A bill passed by the Lok Sabha and pending in the Rajya Sabha lapses on the dissolution of the Lok Sabha, correct. A bill in regard to which the President of India notified his or her intention to summon the houses to a joint sitting lapses on the dissolution of the Lok Sabha. No, B, 1 and 2 is the right answer. Why was this question asked? Because the current affairs development is the 17th Lok Sabha is to be dissolved. Let's test the students whether they are aware of what happens after the dissolution of Lok Sabha. Not just this. The question this year was also asked on the Speaker. Speaker was almost always in the news this year or in the last 1.5 years. Why? Because the Speaker suspended some MPs. The Speaker took some actions related to Mahua Moitra. And actions related to Mahua Moitra led to a question asked on the Ethics Committee as well. So everything is related to current affairs here. Or some of it is related to current affairs. So if Mahua Moitra is in the news, everything related to her becomes important for the examination. Ethics Committee. Speaker. And this was the first time in the history of independent India that we did not have a deputy speaker in the 17th Lok Sabha. So if UPSC did not ask a question on the deputy speaker, UPSC asked a question on the speaker. So you have to prepare in such a manner that you have to keep your eyes and ears and mind wide open and link your static syllabus with the current affairs. What is the answer to this question? With reference to the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, consider the following statements. While any resolution for the removal of the Speaker of the Lok Sabha is under consideration, he shall not preside, correct. He shall not have the right to speak, incorrect. He has the right to speak. He shall not be entitled to vote on the resolution in the first instance. This is wrong. A, one only. And I don't need to explain this question because one, we have explained this when we analyzed the Prelims 2024 paper. And second, if you have just started, you will not be able to understand this topic unless and until I explain you the entire process. Here, I'm just telling you the strategy that you need to follow. Clear? Or, question can be completely conceptual, which you cannot find in any book. Leave alone M. Lakshmikant. In essence, what does due process of law mean? And the answer to this question is the principle of natural justice according to the UPSC official answer key. And it is this question which even the teachers, some prominent teachers of some prominent civil services preparation industry got wrong. So the questions can be either factual, questions can be conceptual, questions can also be something which you have not read anywhere, but your understanding of Constitution will help you answer this question. Because if you know what is the difference between procedure established by law and due process of law and understand it correctly, then there is no reason why you will get this question wrong. Clear? But something else. Sir, how do we link current affairs with the static portion of the syllabus? For example, you are reading M. Lakshmikant and you are reading the topic governor. Lakshmikant will mention who is the governor, how the governor is appointed, how the governor is removed, so on and so forth. But what happened to the institution of governor, because it is in conflict with democratically elected chief minister, particularly in the opposition ruled states? For example, the tussle between the governor and the chief minister of Tamil Nadu, of Karnataka, of Telangana, of West Bengal, of Punjab, of Kerala. In this case, matter went to the Supreme Court. What did Supreme Court rule on this matter? That is the current affairs. So static portion, when you are reading Governor, also keep a track of newspapers, what exactly is happening to the office of the Governor, so that you can link it. Similarly, when you are looking at parliamentary committees, sir, there are so many committees of Indian Parliament. Do we have to remember, memorize all these committees, their functions? Most of the times, no. There will always be, if there are 15 questions or 20 questions, there will be a couple of questions which you can't answer. Leave them. Don't change your strategy just because of these 2 questions. Maximize your output when it comes to the remaining questions. Most of the times you will have to focus on those parliamentary committees which have been in the news in the last 1.5 years. If the office of the Speaker is in the news, what did the Supreme Court say on the office of the Speaker? Or what is the current challenge in the office of the Speaker? What happened to the office of the Speaker in Maharashtra when it was hearing the petition as to which faction is the real faction, Shiv Sena, NCP? Every static topic, if it is linked to current affairs, if it has appeared in the news in the past 1.5 years, that becomes important for your examination. And that is why I told you at the start, there are some portals also which are important. And I'll tell you how to approach these portals. Let's look at this image on your screen. This article was published in the scroll.in. If amendments to Whistleblowers Act are passed, there may be no one left to protect. This was not a law, this was a bill which was pending in the Parliament. That's why I told you that sometimes you will have to focus on the laws passed by the Parliament or laws under the consideration of the Parliament. This was a bill which was a controversial bill. Lot many debates on this bill. This was the headline of an article on scroll.in, May 2015, same year in 2015, when question was asked in the mains examination. Look at the question. I won't read it, you read it out for me. And notice the difference, because there exists none. If Amendment Bill to the Whistleblowers Act 2011 tabled in the Parliament is passed, there may be no one left to protect, critically evaluate. That's the point which UPSC has added. Otherwise, everything remains the same. In fact, there was a question asked on One Nation, One Election a couple of years ago. Do you know what the question was? I forgot to add that on the slide. The question was, if simultaneous elections are conducted in India, lawmakers' accountability to the public may reduce. This was the headline in an article mentioned in the wire.in. Same headline. Just here and there some phrases were changed and the question was asked by the UPSC. What does that mean? That means if there is one nation, one election in the news. Again, I'm telling you, if you have joined a coaching class, you don't need to do this because your teachers will be doing it for you. The way they will structure your content, I can say on my behalf, I will do this and I do this. I don't know about others, but I'm sure they would also be doing the same thing. Which is, if I teach one nation, one election, you don't have to read any other source. Just focus on the class notes, the PPT that I will provide, that's it. But if you're preparing on your own, you need to first understand what is one nation, one election. And how do you understand this? By looking at 5 W's and 1 H. What does that mean? What is one nation, one election? Why do we need one nation, one election? Who has proposed one nation, one election? What changes will be implemented in the Representation of the People Act, in Constitution, in Rules of Business and Procedure, if one nation, one election is to be implemented? And how can we implement one nation, one election? Don't delete any comments. Let them comment. Clear? So this is the approach that you need to follow. 5 W's, 1 H. What is one nation, one election? Why do we need it? How do we implement this? And this is where you need to then use Google search. And in the Google search, you will find 3-4 important articles, whether in the Hindu or Indian Express or any portal. Read them and pick out the important points. And important points should be in such a manner that you are mentioning pros as well as cons, advantages as well as disadvantages. That means you don't have to look at one nation, one election only from the perspective of its advantages, but you have to focus on the disadvantages as well. You have to focus on pros, you have to focus on cons as well. So read some of these newspaper articles from some portals as well, from newspapers as well, and pick at least 250 words of advantages, 250 words of disadvantages in point format, and your topic is done. That is why for mains examination, Lakshmikant plus current affairs. That is what you need to focus on. In fact, in last year's prelims examination, there was a question asked on Official Secrets Act. And this is where we come across the significance of anticipation that you can understand only by looking at the previous year's question papers. This question was asked in 2023. Do you know why? Because this Official Secrets Act was passed in 1923. So it was the 100th anniversary of Official Secrets Act. And whenever there is a 100th anniversary, 50th anniversary, 75th anniversary, that becomes a potential question for your examination. So you need to anticipate as well and link it with current affairs, because Official Secrets Act was also in the news. I'll give you further examples. The first question on your screen: the powers, privileges and immunities of Parliament and its members as envisaged in Article 105 of the Constitution leave room for a large number of uncodified and unenumerated privileges to continue. Assess the reasons for the absence of legal codification of the parliamentary privileges. How can this problem be addressed? This is part of the Constitution, Article 105. But do you know why this question was asked? This question was asked in the year 2014. Do you know why? Because at that time, Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Bill was passed in the Parliament, which bifurcated Andhra Pradesh into Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. And at that time, there was one MP who entered the Parliament and started spraying pepper on the fellow MPs. He came to be known as the pepper spray MP. How did he enter Parliament with a pepper spray can? There was a raging debate at that time that one of the privileges of the members of the Parliament is that as you enter the Parliament, you cannot be frisked. You cannot be checked. So there was a huge furore over parliamentary privileges, and that is why this question was asked. Current affairs. Look at the second question on your screen. The Indian Constitution has provisions for holding joint sessions of the two houses. Enumerate the occasions when this would normally happen and also the occasions when it cannot with the reasons thereof. This question was asked in 2017. Do you know why? Because prior to that, GST was getting delayed a lot. And one reason for the GST getting delayed was because the BJP lacked majority in the Rajya Sabha. And then somebody recommended. It was Mr. Arun Jaitley who said, maybe we will consider a joint sitting of the two houses just on GST. Then newspaper said, you can't have a joint sitting of the two houses on the GST because GST is a constitutional amendment bill. And a constitutional amendment bill shall have to be passed by both houses of the Indian Parliament separately. There is no provision of a joint sitting. That's why this question was asked. Static and link it with current affairs. Two more examples. A question on your screen. Once a speaker, always a speaker. Do you think the practice should be adopted to impart objectivity to the office of the Speaker of the Lok Sabha? What could be its implications for the robust functioning of the parliamentary business in India? When the Speaker's office was in question, because the way the Speaker appeared partisan, biased in favor of the ruling political party, newspapers, online news portals, they spoke of reform when it comes to the office of the Speaker, and they said we should follow the British practice of once a Speaker, always a Speaker. This question was asked by the UPSC in your mains exam. So Speaker's office is in the news. This topic becomes important, and for that you need to read, focus, update your current affairs. That's mains examination for you, and this you will never find in M. Lakshmikant. Look at the another question on your screen. Whether the Supreme Court judgment, July 2018, can settle the political tussle between the Lieutenant Governor and the elected government of Delhi. Examine. This question was asked in 2018. And this question was asked in 2018 because there was a landmark 5-judge bench of the Supreme Court judgment, a constitution bench judgment of the Supreme Court, which said the real power is with the elected Chief Minister and his Council of Ministers. Whatever advice they give to the Lieutenant Governor shall be binding on the Lieutenant Governor, except on matters related to law and order, land, police, which is beyond the jurisdiction of the Delhi Assembly or the Delhi government. This judgment was asked to analyze. In fact, in 2015, when the Supreme Court said by the majority of 4:1 in 4th judge's case, popularly known as the 4th judge's case, the name of the case is the Skara versus Union of India, Supreme Court said NJAC is unconstitutional. UPSC asked, critically analyze the Supreme Court judgment on the 99th Constitutional Amendment Act. And that 99th Constitutional Amendment Act created a constitutional body called NJAC for judicial appointments. Current affairs. But not just this. It's not that you have to always focus on current affairs and leave out the static portion, which may not be in the news. See the kind of questions that have appeared. Though the federal principle is dominant in our constitution, and that principle is one of its basic features, but it is equally true that federalism under the Indian Constitution leans in favor of a strong center, a feature that militates against the concept of strong federalism. Why did I pick this question? Because maybe by reading this question, you will say, my God, what sort of language is there in the question? I will never be able to answer this question. If yes, let me know. If this is the thought that has occurred to your mind. But please listen to me carefully. When you start learning how to drive a car, initially you will face difficulties. Difficulties in the manner that where is the accelerator, where is the brake, where is the clutch? I'm confused. The instructor is saying, release the clutch slowly. You release it abruptly, the car stops. This is the indicator. Show the indicator. Don't lift your steering like this and you start giving up. This is the rear view mirror. Look at this. You say, my God, I will never be able to drive a car. And even if I am, I will never be able to ride on a highway, overtaking the irritating tippers on the highway, the trucks on the highway. But as time goes on, in a month, in 2 months, in 3 months, you're zooming past on a highway. Practice. My dear, mains is all about answer writing. Right now, if I tell you, write an answer to this question, maybe you will not be able to answer. But once you have attended the classes or once you have completed the syllabus, you may be able to write 5-6 pages on this topic. But then the challenge is, how do I constrict my answer? How do I ensure that I do not waste the 2 pages that are assigned to me or the 3 pages that are assigned to me? How do I ensure that I write the answer in either 7 or 8 minutes? Because that's the time I have to focus on. That's the time I have to complete the answer to a question. And that you will understand through practice. Practice. Write answers. And get your answers evaluated by your teachers, if you have joined a coaching class, or by your friends if you're preparing together, if you're doing group study, or by somebody, but there has to be somebody who has to, who should, who ought to evaluate your answer. Look at another question on the screen. Do you think the Constitution of India does not accept principle of strict separation of powers, rather it is based on the principle of checks and balances? Although it is relevant to current affairs as well, because there was a lot of debate on checks and balances during that period. But this can be a purely, strictly static question as well. So you will have to focus on current. You will have to focus on static portion as well. Clear? Let's look at something else. Compare and contrast the British and Indian approaches to parliamentary sovereignty. Because what is the topic that is mentioned in your syllabus? Comparison of the world constitution as well. What can France learn from Indian secularism? That question was asked in your examination. So comparison becomes important. Long story short, when it comes to Indian polity, we say Indian polity is one of the most important subjects for the exam. Why? Because of the sheer amount of marks that are assigned to the subject. It's relevant for prelims, mains, GS paper 2, essay, optional subjects, some of them, and personality test as well. What exactly do we need to focus on Indian polity? Constitution, the laws passed by the legislature, or the laws under the consideration of the legislature, and the judicial verdicts. What are the sources that we need to follow? 2 NCERT books for your basic understanding, Lakshmikant for prelims, current affairs for mains. And current affairs, the source has to be newspapers, either the Hindu or the Indian Express, or editorials and columns of both the newspaper. PRS legislative research. And if you look at the trending topics which are in the news, for example, Uniform Civil Code, for example, One Nation, One Election, Google search, take a look at 4 or 5 top news articles which appear on the Google search, find out, make notes by looking at the advantages as well as the disadvantages. And this is where now we come across another important aspect of our session, note making. Sir, should we make notes? Should you make notes of NCERTs? No. Underline them, revise them, don't make notes. Sir, should I make note of Lakshmikant? No, because if you start making notes of Lakshmikant, you have to write another Lakshmikant, because all these facts may become important. Then what do I make notes of? Current affairs. How? Something is happening on July 1, 2024. What is happening? The 3 criminal codes, Evidence Act, Criminal Procedure, Indian Penal Code, the replacement of these codes is getting implemented from 1st of July. What are the challenges? As a civil services aspirant, what do you have to keep in mind? As I said, 5 Ws, 1 H. What was the need to replace the 3 earlier laws with the new ones? Why do we do it? How do we do it? What are the challenges? What are the advantages of the new laws? What are the concerns raised by activists on the new laws? For example, former Solicitor General of India, Indira Jaising, she wrote an article in the Indian Express asking the Home Minister to put a pause on the 3 laws. Why? Because otherwise, she says, there will be a legal chaos. What are the concerns? What are the advantages? What is the way forward? That's how you will have to look at the 3 laws that will be implemented from 1st of July 2024. That's your approach. That's what you need to follow. Clear? And for them, you should make notes. Similarly, towards the end, I will briefly take you through the syllabus. In prelims examination, it talks about Indian polity, governance, panchayati raj, rights, issues, so on and so forth. But so far as the syllabus for polity is concerned, for the mains examination, it is a well elaborated syllabus. Every topic that is mentioned in the syllabus, you should either have a note or you should have a book underlined. What is the evolution of the doctrine of basic structure as propounded by the Supreme Court on the 24th of April 1973 in a landmark Keshavananda Bharti versus State of Kerala? This may not be explained properly by Lakshmikant. For that, you will need note. Whether this basic structure doctrine is good, bad, ugly, for that you will need note. What is the Representation of the People Act? What are the salient features of the Representation of the People Act? Particularly those provisions which are in the news. And make notes. So you have to ensure that before you say that I'm prepared for this exam, take a look at the syllabus and take a look at individual line item of the syllabus and see whether you have notes prepared for it. If not notes, whether you have the book which is underlined basis these topics, then you are ready for this examination. And that has to be your strategy for Indian polity. Now I will take up your questions. Whatever questions you have, please let me know. I will try to my level best answer your queries as much as possible. But before I do that, there was a lot of demand from our students about the optional subjects that should be launched on Unacademy platform in English medium. And we have a happy news for those aspirants. There are 2 optional subjects that we are launching from the 24th and 25th of June this month. One is geography, which will be taught by Mehraj Sir. Inarguably, one of the most brilliant teachers for geography. The second one, Abhishek Mishra Sir, would be teaching history. Fantastic teachers. If history and geography is your optional and you're considering guidance in these subjects, then you should avail the lectures of both these fantastic teachers. I'm told there is a code AMOPT for Mishra Sir and MJOPT for Jasser, which you can use to get some additional discounts, some good discounts on the course fee. Now, whatever questions you have, please let me know. I will try and answer these questions one by one. Book for mains, as I said, Lakshmikant plus current affairs. Tamil optional, we'll try our best. Sir, Chief Whip can be anybody from political party or an MP. Has to be an MP. Sir, would you cover pre and main syllabus as well in the first 32 class by you in polity? Absolutely yes. So this time I can't get into mains, but I want to enroll in mains enrichment program. Is it only for those who are writing mains this time? No, you can also enroll in this program. For PSIR, we are receiving a lot of mails, comments. There is a demand. Hope to launch it soon. Sir, what should I do after watching newspaper analysis from Unacademy? I just completed my 12th. Live your life, my dear. Watch the analysis, read newspapers, start with NCERT books if civil services is what you want to do, and then live your life. Sir, how to deal with revision? For example, I start reading Parliament chapter and after 3 days I revised 20 pages. I was feeling that my mind will burst out. It happens. It happens to every aspirant. Talk to any aspirant. They would also feel the same. So this is nothing unusual. When you read a book for the first time and then you read it again, it is as if you have never read that book because you won't be able to recollect most of it. Read it second time. Read it 3 times. And Lakshmikant, you have to revise 6 times. Sir, is it possible? Yes, it is. Sir, how can you say that? Because aspirants do it. Those who clear the exam, they do it. When you read a book for the first time, it might take you 2 months. When you read it the second time, it might take you 45 days. When you read it the third time, and significantly the time gets reduced. And there will come a point where you will revise Lakshmikant in a week. So this program includes mains answer writing, evaluation and mentorship. Yes, my dear. How can I prepare for prelims and mains together? Join my class. I'll make you prepare for prelims and mains together. But that aside, what did I tell you? Prelims is about facts and concepts. Mains is about elaboration, analysis. Unless and until you know the facts, you can't analyze. That's how you have to prepare simultaneously. Which means, if you have to understand Uniform Civil Code, for that you need to understand what are directive principles of state policy. What is 39B and 39C? What is Article 40, 44? Clear? And then jump to Uniform Civil Code and see whether it can be implemented or not. Sir, if you cover everything for aspirants, then will it not be spoon feeding? Do we not need to read newspaper, the wire articles, etc. by our own? My dear, our endeavor is to minimize your effort because you won't be able to find time to do all this research because polity is not the only subject. There is economics, there is history, there is geography, there is optional subject, disaster management, international relations. Same strategy you will have to follow for these subjects. Right? So the endeavor is to ensure that you clear this exam in the shortest possible time frame. Even if this is spoon feeding, so be it. What is your end goal to clear the exam? Whether you have been spoon fed or bottle fed doesn't matter. Is institute matter for board panel? I am assuming that you're saying, does your educational institute, the institute that you come from, where you have graduated or post-graduated, from where you have graduated or post-graduated, does that have an impact on the minds of the panelists who are taking your interview? Ask this question to yourself. When you're writing the prelims examination, does UPSC know what is your educational background? UPSC knows, but the evaluators, they don't know. The system does not know. The OMR scanning machine does not know. Because you're anonymous to them. So you have cracked prelims. So it does not have an impact in prelims. In mains, the evaluator will not know who you are, what's your name, what's your caste, what's your religion. So for evaluator who evaluates your mains answers, you are an anonymous entity. And mains is about 1750 marks. It's only at the time of the personality test that the interview panel will get to know who you are. What is your educational background? But interview is only 275 marks. If you have done well in mains, you have aced this exam. And even then, institute does not matter because they would know, regardless of what your institute is, you are in front of this interview panel. After defeating lakhs of aspirants in prelims and mains, you are special. So that doesn't have an impact. So what is the correct explanation of directive principles of state policy? Directive principles of state policy are those principles which the state keep in mind while enacting laws, while making policies. There are 2 important characteristics of DPSPs. They are not enforceable in a court of law. Nevertheless, they are fundamental for the governance of the country. Sir, should I join any coaching class soon after completing degree or 12th? That's your call. If you want to complete the syllabus earlier, then after 12th, better. Don't waste your graduation years. That's all I can say. Sir, I prepared for prelims. Now can I join this program, or can I join a program only for mains? You can join this program as well. Is anti-defection functioning in India? Is anti-defection law functioning properly? No. Sir, I'm starting to enroll in Achievers Batch. How can I couple your classes in the syllabus? Join the class. We will tell you the strategy to follow one by one. I do not take the optional subject as of now. Sir, I've just completed my 12th. Should I concentrate on current affairs with NCRTs and Lakshmikant? First NCRTs, current affairs. Next year Lakshmikant. Secrecy of oath means if I, as a minister or a prime minister, I'm taking oath that whatever comes to my notice, I will keep it secret. I will not reveal it to anyone. Sir, I'm preparing for 2025 and I've completed Polity once, but while dealing with mains questions, I'm unable to frame answers. You will find difficulty at the start, but then practice. Write a horrible answer, but write. Write an imperfect answer, but write. Write a completely illogical answer, but write. That's how you can right the wrong, by practicing. Sir, I've scored only 73 marks with graduation. Is there any chance of qualifying? 73 marks in prelims or 73% marks in graduation? (73) in prelims, if you are from general category, looks difficult. Sir, how can we know other teachers of this program? I teach polity, Shyam sir teaches economy, Chetan sir teaches international relations and internal security, Mukesh sir teaches geography, Abhishek sir teaches history, Astha ma'am teaches society and the social justice, Hema Bindu ma'am teaches science and technology, so on and so forth. I'm getting between 78 to 82. Should I prepare for this mains? Prepare. Nothing goes waste. I can't demotivate you right now, but the results can be declared anytime soon, maybe in a week's time. Optional subjects starting 24th of June. Okay, that is it for today. I had to take it for around 45 minutes, but it's already more than an hour. Thank you so much for staying with me. If this session has been of some help to you, please let me know once the class ends. Let me know in the comment section. Do press the like button as well and subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. That is it for now. See you tomorrow with another interesting polity-based lecture, as well as the analysis that we will do in the morning, the Hindu newspaper analysis. Till then, have a great time. Good night.